So we're just going to start off by setting up how we usually would. So feet together and then moving the toes out and then popping the heels just behind. And nice and relaxed through the knees. And we're just going to start by taking the weight forward, nice and relaxed over the toes and then back onto the heels. So just waking up those feet ready for the whole class. Good. And forward. And then coming back, test how far you can take your balance each way. And then over to the side. So we're going to then do some circles. So over to the side, coming forward, over to the other side, and then back. Again, testing how far you can take it. Have a feel of where those feet are in the floor or on your mat. Good. If you want to, you can close your eyes to get more of a sense of what's going on. Good. And then take it round the other way. Just coming back onto the heels, over to the other side. Forward, just waking up those feet a little bit, and then slowly making those circles a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller until you come right into the middle. So your weight's right over equal amounts your toes and your heels, and we're just going to relax the knees. So staying facing the front, I'm just going to turn side so you can see a little bit better. We're just going to start taking the knees, walking them straight, and then bending the other one. So you've just got a bit of a pedaling motion going on. This is just to relax the leg muscles a little bit before we get started. Again, you're going to make those movements smaller and a little bit faster. Just warming up those joints in a very small range of movement. And then slowly bringing that even smaller until you reach back. So still facing the front, sorry. Until you reach back to where you naturally would sit. So you're not locking back in those legs, you're just keeping them nice and relaxed. We're going to take our hands onto our pelvis, and we're going to start first of all just bringing one hip bone up and then the other. So you are going to have to move your knees a little bit, but we're just going to get that left to right movement. You can lift that heel off a little bit as well if you want to, and then again, so same principle, just making those movements a little bit smaller until those bones are nice and equal and level at the front of your hips. So keeping them there, and then we're going to slowly do our rocks backwards and forwards with our pelvis. So you're going to tuck that tailbone all the way under, down to the floor, and then bring it all the way back and stick that tailbone out, back to the backboard. So if I turn to the side again, you're tucking that all the way under. Again, you can bend those knees, keep them nice and relaxed, and then bringing it all the way back so your tailbone's pointing towards the wall behind you. And we're going to do a couple more of them. Keep going. Good, making those movements a little bit smaller until you come back into your neutral position. Good, and then keeping it there. We're going to start activating the core muscles and those pelvic floor muscles a little bit more. So first thing I want you to think about is, whilst keeping that pelvis nice and neutral, is just drawing up through the centre of your body. So it's like you're pulling up, drawing up through the middle. And as we do that, I also want you to think about closing the tummy at the front. So it's almost like one of those drawstring bags coming out of your belly button. So everything's coming together in the middle. And we're just going to squeeze that as hard as we can. So really, really tense, keeping the knees nice and relaxed still. And then relaxing. And again, just contract that those muscles in to get that nice tight core, and then out. Now during Pilates, we only want about 30 to 40% activation. So I want you to draw it in, and then just relax out a little bit. So you can still feel that it's activated, but you're not tensing onto it. And that's just going to give you that strong core for all the other movements that we're going to do. So moving up through the body, we want to have the ribs nice and relaxed down on the tummy. So as we're bringing everything into the centre, the ribs are also coming down into the body. So as we take a breath in, think of those ribs expanding into those gaps under the armpits, and then coming back down again and letting those ribs relax down onto the tummy. So again, taking a big breath in and breathing out, relax those ribs down to the tummy, and this time also thinking about those shoulders coming down. If you keep those breaths going in your own time, so thinking breath in, feeling those gaps up underneath your armpits with your ribs, and breathing out again, letting those rib cage relax down and on your tummy. Good. We want nice long collarbones, and then that final feeling, last thing to remember, is just that reach up through the spine. So as if someone's pulling you up through the back of your spine, and keep those breaths going. Just have a little time here, keeping the breaths going and thinking about everything being nice and activated. So again, if you want to think about coming from your feet up, nice relaxed knees, pelvis nice and level, everything nice and engaged, ribs down, shoulders nice and broad, and then the nice length through the back of the spine. So not much to think about there. So you're going to bring the palms up to face the ceiling, elbows in, and it's like you've got a little tennis ball orange just under those elbows. And we're going to start by taking the arms out. So this is our dumbwaiter exercise. This is going to get those shoulder joints warmed up a little bit, and we're going to put a bit of a twist in to test your balance just to start off with as well. So just taking those arms out to the side, just as far as they can go. There's no need to force them. Still thinking about that core being activated. Good. And just to test the balance, once we've got the arms going, you're going to bring one foot just in front of the other. So whichever foot you want first, we're going to put it into more of a tightrope position. So it's just in front of the other foot, feet just ahead of the toes. So you're in one nice straight line, and keep those arms going. So still in this position, it's really easy to take all the weight back into that back leg, but you still want the weight equally distributed between both of your feet. Okay, keeping that core engaged, thinking about the breathing. So breathe in as you bring the arms back to centre, and breathe out as you take them out. So it might mean that depending on the length of your breath, your arms are going at a slightly different speed to mine, but that's okay. And we're going to do one more, so breath in and out. We're going to swap the feet over, so bringing that front foot back to the side and bring the other one in front. We're going to keep those arms going. So in your own time, just taking those breaths in and out as the arms come from the centre out to the side and back in. Still got those oranges under those elbows, so you're not squishing your arms into your tummy. Nice controlled movement. Good. 2 more in your own time. Keeping the breath going and the arms coming out and in, and then bringing that foot back into the centre. We're going to test our balance even more now. So if you do need to be by a wall, just have hold on to, then that's okay, or a chair, back of a chair if you need to. We're going to take the arms out into dumbwaiter, and then we're going to go into Cleopatra, so stretching the arms out as we're rising onto those toes. So bring the arms in and then out. You come into dumbwaiter. As you reach out, you're going to turn the palms down towards the floor, and the heels are going to come off the floor as well. Good. So it should be a nice long stretch along the back. Try and reach both of the walls either side of you. So you're making yourself as long as possible head to toe, and as wide as possible finger to finger. Good. You can keep that breath going as well. So breathing in as you come, bring the arms in, and breathing out as you reach out. Good. Keep that going. We're going to do one more. And this time as we come in, we're going to take the legs into a little bit of a bend. So just to start off, warming the knees up, bend, and then coming back. Good. Really try to get into a deep bend without bringing those heels off the floor. So you should start to feel a little bit of a stretch in those calf muscles. Good. Let's bring those arms up towards the wall in front of you. Keep the bends going. And we're going to test your brains a little bit this time. So as we go down with the knees, you're going to take one arm up above your head and one arm down to the side and just under the line. Good. So arms come together as you straighten the legs, and then one arm goes up as you bend the legs, one arm goes down, and then everything comes back to centre at the end. Good. Let's swap over arms. So this time the other arm's going to go up as the other one goes down when you do the bend, and we're going to come up in the middle. Good, checking those cores are still engaged, you're not letting anything relax, being too easy on yourself. Good, we're going to swap back onto the other arm, and this time as you come up to the centre, we're going to go onto that rise again. So like we did in the Cleopatra, just coming onto a little bit of a rise onto the toes. Testing that balance. Again, if you want to do one arm and hold on to something else on the other, that's absolutely fine. Keeping the breath. Breathing out as you bend the knees. As we come back to centre, you're going to breathe in. Let's swap over arms, go on the other side. long through the back of the spine. Head, top of the head towards the ceiling. Good. One more on this side. Good. And we're going to bring everything back down. We're going to take the weight over to one side first, so choose which leg you want to start on. We're going to bring the other leg just off the floor, bend the knees slightly so you've got space to move. We're going to go into a few little hip circles. So you're going to bring the foot forward, out to the side, back behind you, and then back through the centre, through that parallel position. Front, side, back. Good. So again, if you need to hold on to anything, that's absolutely fine. You can pop your hands on your hips if you don't need to. And we're just going to check, like we would normally do when we're laying on the floor, that there's no other movements going on from the hips upwards. So everything else is nice and strong. And the little hip bones at the front that you normally put your fingers on, they're going to stay nice and still and parallel as well. Good. We're going to reach the opposite arm up to the leg that's moving. We've got that nice long length through the supporting side. Keeping everything nice and strong. This is going to be the last circle. We're going to bring that foot next to the other one and reach over for a nice side stretch. So keeping the gap between your ear and the arm. Don't let that arm squish onto your face. We're going to do a big stretch over to the side. Good. Bring the other arm up to meet that arm. You can clasp the hands at the top and we're going to hold it here for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. You can release the arms down. Let's go on to the other side with those hip circles. So transferring your weight onto the side you haven't done yet. Taking that hip round in the circle. So bringing that foot forward, to the side, to the back, and through. Keep it going again. Keeping everything from the hips up nice and still. Good. Keep it going. We're going to reach that opposite arm, so the arm that's on the side of the supporting leg up towards the ceiling. Keep those circles going. Really thinking about that glute on the straight leg, keeping you nice and supported because that's what's going to be keeping your hips nice and level. Good, this is going to be the last one. We're going to bring that foot next to the other foot, stretching over to the side, keeping that gap between the hand and the ear. We're going to stretch out that side, making sure you've not pulled too far into those hips, still keeping your hips stacked nice on top of those feet. And we're going to bring the other arm up to join and hold it there. It is always a little bit harder than it looks. So keeping that top shoulder back, we're not letting that fall forward. And then we're going to come back up and down to the centre. Good. We're going to go into some floor work now. So whichever way around you want to go, come into the head of your mat. And we're just going to roll down through the spine. So you're going to roll down, head first, all the way to the floor. Keep those knees nice and soft, head relaxed, hands down to the floor, and then we're going to come all the way back up again. So again, knees relaxed, pelvis coming underneath you first, rolling up through the spine. Head's the last thing to come up. Good, we're going to go down again. This time we're going to hold at the bottom. Let that head relax. We're going to open up the back arm first. So it's like you're going to be drawing a bow and arrow. It doesn't matter if you're not quite touching the floor. Let that head be nice and relaxed. We're going to pull one arm up, so elbow back first, as though you're drawing a bow and arrow. And then reaching up to the ceiling as much as you can. If it's comfortable, you can turn your head to look up to that hand that's above you. But if not, you can leave it looking underneath. We're going to re-draw that hand down back to the other one. And then open up on the other side. So whichever side you haven't done, bring that elbow back first, reaching up towards the ceiling. Good. So again, if it's not comfortable looking up, you can keep your head down towards the floor. Good. Redrawing that arm back in, down to the other side. Nice long hamstring stretch. If you can, straighten those legs as much as possible, lengthening through the spine. Good, and then however you usually do, just bring yourself down. Okay. So we're going to start the floor work on our backs. I'm going to go this way because I'm hoping that you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little bit more. So just starting off, getting yourself comfortable. Parallel legs, feet just under your hips. So it's going to be a very similar setup to when we were standing up. So nice and parallel, making sure those knees are going straight up to the ceiling. And we're just going to start with those hands again on those bony parts on the front of our hips, just to make sure that we're nice and stable. Drawing into that middle of the belly button, so like I was saying about the drawstring bag, everything coming to the centre, and then about 30% effort there. And like I said, that's going to keep you nice and secure throughout all these exercises. So we're not pushing our back into the floor too much, we're keeping a nice neutral spine and pelvis like we were in standing. I'm just going to start off with a little bent knee fall out. So we're going to start off with the right leg first. You're going to take that knee out to the side, just as far as you can go without any movement in those hips, and then bring it back up to the centre. We're going to stay on that right leg just to start off with. So really concentrating on that left hip bone as you're taking that right knee out to the side, making sure there's no movement there. And if I was to take a video of you just from the hips up, it would look like you were sunbathing on the beach, not doing any Pilates, but obviously all the hard work's going on the inside. I'm just going to take another 4 more out to the side on this right leg. So by keeping your hands on the front of your pelvis, you're going to be able to feel any movement. Obviously we're not there to have a look at you, so it's important that you keep checking in with yourself and making sure that you're connected to what your body's doing. Good, 2 more on this right side. And then the last one, nice and slowly. So it doesn't matter about how far that leg's coming out to the side. It's more about that control in the core and the centre, getting you ready for the rest of the class. So other side now, left leg coming out to the side. Really concentrating on that right hip, staying nice and steady. And also that right knee as well, so you've not got any movement in that right knee coming side to side as you take that other leg out. Good, keep it going. Still nice and long through the back of the neck. Not too much tension in the face. If you want to incorporate the breathing as well, if you feel like you've got the stability and everything else is nice and controlled, you're going to take a breath in to prepare. You're going to breathe out as you take that leg out to the side, and then breathe in as you bring it back to the centre. And you can keep that going. So in your own time with your breath. Good. I'm going to do a couple more on this side. Keeping nice and still. Good, let's make this the last one. And then we're going to bring both legs back to the centre. We're going to go into scissors level 1. So just nice and simple, just to start off with bringing the one leg off of the mat and then taking it back down towards the floor. So really starting to engage all those core muscles even more now. Bringing those ribs nice and flat down on the tummy. Just as we start off a nice simple movement. So what we don't want is that tummy to start what we call doming, so you don't want the tummy to be coming up as you're lifting that leg up. You want all your core muscles to be controlling it enough that it doesn't have to do that. Good. Let's do 1 more each side. Good, this leg's going to go down. We're going to bring the right leg up again, and this time we're going to combine almost the 2 movements. So just starting off, we're going to make some really small circles with that knee. So just your hips moving, there's no movement at the knee joint, everything else is really, really still. It's like you've got a pencil on the tip of your kneecap and it's just really long and drawing a little circle on the ceiling above you. So it's just that rotation in the hip, getting all those stabilising muscles working. Everything else super still, so checking that this other leg's nice and still as well. And keep that breath going. Good. We're going to do 3 more little circles on this side. And then we're going to place that leg back down next to the other one. Bring the other leg up. And then little circles on this side. So the same thing, you've got that pencil, really long pencil attached. It's all like an extension of the rest of your leg muscle, and it's going all the way up to the ceiling. You're just drawing little tiny circles, like a 10-piece coin. So nice and round, nice and smooth. Everything else staying really still and controlled. Good, you're still not letting that back sink into the floor. And bringing that leg back down to join the other one. We're going to take our hands down towards our feet and just off the floor. Palms down towards the floor. I'm just going to start some little pulses, and as we're doing this, I want you to think for breathing in for 5 pulses, and as you breathe out, think of drawing those rib cages down towards the hip, and that's just going to activate a little bit more of that core. This is going to prep us for what we're going to do next. So breathing in for 5. And as you breathe out, think of relaxing that ribcage down towards your hips. So this should help with that drawing in feeling in the middle of your tummy. If you want to, you can lift your head off of the floor and up into the shoulder blade. So you've still got that length through the back of the spine, but it's just going to come down to the bottom of your shoulder blade. So don't shorten the space between your chin and your chest. Nice and long. But if this is too much, feel free to keep the head on the floor. Good. Keep it going if you can. Good. You should start to feel that tummy starting to work a little bit harder. And we're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Coming back down. We're going to lift one leg back into that tabletop position, so bringing one leg up and then the other. And then in this position, nice and strong in the core, we're going to bring the arms up towards the ceiling as well. We're going to hold here for a little bit. So just checking that tabletop position. If you look down slightly at your feet, you shouldn't be able to see them. They should be hidden by your knees. So if you're too far up, you're going to be able to see your feet. And just nice and in line, making sure the knees are nice and parallel so they're not coming in towards each other or too far out, and again if your feet are too far in or out. So just getting a good position, just holding this, you should be able to still feel that core working, but just to make it a little bit harder, we're going to take some arm circles just to start off with. So the hands are going to come just over our heads. If you haven't got a wall behind you like me, you'd be able to go a little bit further, bit tight for space, and then circling all the way back in. So keeping those cores engaged, making sure that those rib cages aren't coming out, they're still nice and relaxed down onto your tummy. I'm going to do a few more of these. So keep checking those legs as well, that they're still in a nice tabletop position. Keep your breath going. Good. If you can either stay on this level, or if you want to make it a little bit harder, you can extend one leg out as your hands go up and then bring it back in as the hands come in. And keep that going. Keep the breath going. So you're breathing in to prepare, breathing out as the leg goes out, and in as the leg comes in. So keep it going. Let's do 2 more each side. Good. We're going to hug those knees into our chest just before we start to challenge those abs a little bit more. Just rock from side to side if you feel like you need to. Give yourself a bit of a massage. You can bring that head into the knees as well if you want to get more of a stretch through the back. Good. And then we're just going to roll ourselves up into sitting. So I might actually go this way. You can stay the way that you are. But just going to come into sitting. So again, feet as they were when you were laying down. So nice and parallel, knees straight up to the ceiling. And we're going to just take those arms out in front of us. And we're going to make sure we're sitting up nice and tall. So you're not rocking back already off of that those sitting bones. You're right on top, engaged with the floor, and you've got that long line coming through the back of your head. All we're going to do to start off with is we're just going to roll down past our tailbone. So you're not going to go all the way down that you're flexing your spine. You're staying nice and straight up on those sitting bones, and all we're going to do is roll the lower back. So you're just coming off of that tailbone ever so slightly, and then coming back up into the straight line again. Good, and again, so coming down. So it's ever so slight movement, but it's just starting to get those lower core muscles working. Really concentrate, getting the right activation at the bottom, and sitting all the way up straight again in the middle. Good, this time we're going to go down, so you're just coming off that those sitting bones, and then we're going to draw like we did before, that bow and arrow. So you're going to bring the first arm and back. Again, you can either look at that arm you've drawn back or keep looking at the front if it helps you stay there a little bit more, and then bring it back in to that position. So you're just off those sitting bones, drawing the other arm back, and then coming back together. Let's go again each side. So bring the first arm back, and up, and back, and up. Good. Coming straight back up into those sitting bones, nice straight back. We're going to test it a little bit further this time, so if that was fine, you can stay there. If you want to make it a little bit harder, we're going to roll off of that those sitting bones and then a little bit further down. So you're really contracting those muscles to make a nice rounded back, and then coming back up. And again, coming off the sitting bones, down into that flexion in the spine, and then back up. So still, you don't need to go too far, just a little bit further each time. Coming straight back up into that nice sitting position in the middle. This one we're going to hold, and again we're going to open up that first arm, and coming back, open up the other arm. So it's like you're drawing that bow and arrow, elbow goes back first, and coming in. One more each side, come on. Good. And back up. And last one. And coming all the way back up into sitting. Now you can either go back to the first one if you've moved on to that one, or you can stay at that level, or if you want to test yourself a little bit more, so whatever's comfortable, we're going to try some roll downs all the way. Hopefully I have space. So from that sitting position, I'm going to keep the arms where they are. You're going to roll off those sitting bones. Again, you can stay here if you're comfortable here. Rolling back a little bit further, and then if you can, all the way down to the floor. Take those arms above your head, reach above your head if you've got space. I don't. Bring the arms all the way around, and then down towards the bottom to roll all the way back up. So it's still a roll through the spine, coming all the way sitting up to the top. Again, whichever level you're comfortable with, all the way down if you can. Circle those arms above your head, around to the side, and then all the way up. Try and make those circles with the arms as big as possible if you do have space. So you're trying to reach out as much as you can. Getting a good stretch. I'm unfortunately a little bit stuck. Coming up. Let's do one more. So I can't remember if I already said one more, but we'll do one more. All the way around with the arms. And then come back up to the centre. Good. Have a little forward fold over those legs. Just roll that back a little bit. And we're going to go into a shoulder bridge series. So I'm going to turn back around the other way. Again, just for just so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So we're going to get those glutes working a little bit now. So you're going to come back down into that first position that we are on the floor. If you did have a little pillow or anything behind your head, I just didn't say at the start, but if you did, probably best to take that out now, just so that we're not putting too much pressure on the neck. We're going to start off in that position, and just to activate the core again and make sure we're in where we should be, we're just going to start off by not doing a shoulder bridge, but just tucking that pelvis under. So a little bit like we did in sitting, where you're just coming off the sitting bones. We're just going to flex into the lower spine, just to try and point that tailbone down towards the wall behind you, and this should activate your core muscles a little bit more. And then coming back into that neutral position. So if you put your hands, fingers and thumbs out, your thumbs just on the base of your ribs, and then your fingers onto the little bony parts that we were talking about on the front of your hips. As you draw the tailbone down towards the wall. You should feel the length between your ribs and those front hip bones just decrease a little bit, and then you can lengthen them back out. So we're going to have a little practice of this first. So keeping everything nice and engaged, just rolling down and back up. So you probably have heard us say in classes that if you've when you're in this position, you should have a little bit of a ray of sunshine coming out from under your back. By doing this, you're just squishing that little bit of sunshine to not be able to get through as much, just for that short period of time that you're in that little contraction and coming back up. Let's do one more of these. So just shorten that length, pushing that tailbone down to the floor, down to the wall underneath you, and coming back up. Good. Popping your hands back down by the sides again. We're going to do a shoulder bridge now. So that first little movement we did is the first movement of your shoulder bridge. So you're going to do the little rock with the pelvis, and then that's going to bring you all the way up. So this time we're going to keep rolling through the spine until we reach a straight line from our knees down to our shoulders. So we don't want to be overextended where our hips are coming up too high or too low. We're going to get that nice straight line just to start off with. Hold. And then we're going to roll all the way back down. So starting with the vertebrae at the top of your spine, nice little massage back down into the mat, one vertebra at a time as you come down, and then making sure as we come down right at the end that we're getting back to that pelvic neutral. So we're not leaving ourselves in that little dip that we were practicing. We're coming all the way back to that nice lengthened starting position, and we're going to go all the way up again. So in your own time, whatever feels good. All the way back down. Breathing out as you come up, and this time we're going to hold at the top. So just get this position, make sure your glutes are nice and switched on, because we're going to test these in a little bit. Holding it there. At the beginning of the class we did that little exercise just to warm us up, where we were taking one knee out to the side and then back to the centre. If you feel comfortable in this shoulder position, we're just going to give that a little try. So I'll do it with my left leg first so that you can see what I'm trying to explain. So we're going to take that, keeping those hip bones nice and still, so no movement coming from here. We're going to take that knee out to the side, not very far, and then back into the centre again. And we're going to alternate legs. So it's going to make both your glutes work super, super hard. And bring it back into the centre. So making sure you're coming back to that nice parallel position between each one. Good, keep it going. If you need to come down for a rest, then that's okay. Roll back down through that spine, have a rest, then roll back up and carry on. Keep squeezing those glutes. You should start to feel it burn a little bit just in those bottoms. Let's do 2 more each side. So keep that core engaged to protect the back as well. Making sure you're still in a nice straight line from your knees down to your shoulders. Doesn't have to be a big movement. It only has to be very, very small. And you're still going to feel everything working. Good, I think that's the last one. Going to bring the knees back and then roll back down through the spine, returning back to that neutral position. You can bring the legs in to give yourself a little bit of a stretch. Head up if you want to, and you can rock from side to side. Good, bring the feet back down. We're going to go back into that shoulder bridge, so hands down by the side, rolling up through that, first of all, that pelvic tilt, up towards the straight line. And we're just going to do some heel raises in this position. I'm going to bring the heels off of the floor and back down. Off of the floor and back down. Off and back. Good. Keep this going. Keep squeezing those glutes and having that core engaged again, just to keep that back nice and protected. Should be in a nice straight line all the way from your knees down to your shoulders, and then your gaze just up towards the ceiling. Keep those heels coming off of the floor. And keep the breath going. you need a little bit more support for balance, you can bring those arms out a little bit wider to the side. The smaller, the thinner you make your arms, the harder it's going to be. If you want to challenge yourself, you can bring your arms up towards the ceiling, but it's completely up to you. That's just going to make everything work that little bit harder. Keep it going. We're going to do 3 more. 3, 2, 1. And bring the heels down. Stay up in that shoulder. Bring the arms back down if you have them up. Going to stay here. And then you can either stay in this position, keep doing those heel raises, or if you really want to test yourself through, you're going to try and bring one leg off of the mat and then popping it back down. So whilst you're bringing that one leg off, you bring it into tabletop position. I want to make sure that this other glute is staying nice and activated to keep the hips nice and level. Bringing it back down. Other side if you can. And back down. Good. Keep swapping the legs. Keeps the core nice and engaged and keep the breathing going. Good, we're going to do 2 more. So 1 more each side, one side. And then the other side. Good, rolling back down through the spine. I'm just going to bring those legs in towards our body. Okay, coming into side line, you can ideally have your arm nice and long out and then your head just rests on it. I'm going to have to just bend mine up. Your feet in line with your hips and then through the line of your head. And we're just going to start off with some plants. So you're just going to bring up that top knee and then let it sit back down on top again. Good. So you want to be feeling this in your glutes. So thinking about the movement coming from that glute at the top to that bottom muscle. If you can't feel it, you might need to stack your hips a little bit more on top. So it could be that you're a little bit far back and you just need to bring that top hip over the bottom hip. Keep it going. Thinking about squeezing those feet together as well can increase the activation of your glutes just at that hip. Might help you to feel it that a little bit more. Keep it going. If you want to, you can place your hand on the floor in front of you for a little bit more support. But if you can, onto that hip. Make sure it's nice and still. And also lengthen down to the floor behind you. So you should have that little bit of a gap between your waist and the floor. Good. On the next one, we're going to hold at the top, so bring it down, open up the legs, and then we're going to lengthen that leg up. Sorry, straight, and then back down. So bring it back down, feet touch each other, and then knees together. So opening up that leg, straightening it out, bring it back down, squeezing those feet together, and then bringing that knee down. So opening it up, lengthening that leg away, coming in and back down. Good, let's do 2 more. Should really start to be feeling in that top hip now. And coming back down. Good. We're going to straighten that leg out a little bit more if you can. I'm a little bit stuck for space. Bending that underneath leg. I'm going to have to do mine with a slight bend in the top leg, but you can have it nice and straight. We're just going to bring that leg slowly forward and then back down to be in line with the hip. Bringing it forward and then back down. And forward and then back to be in line. Good. So it's almost like a little bit of a walking motion. So as though you're bringing that foot forward as though you're walking and then bringing it back in line again. Good. Keep it going, keeping everything else nice and still. Keep it going. Good. This time as we come back, we're going to bring it in line again with that hip. So you've got a nice long length from the top of your head down into the heel of that foot, lengthening away. And we're just going to pulse up and down. So nice and quick, little pulses. Trying to keep everything else nice and still. So you shouldn't be able to feel this arm moving on the mat, which I can a little bit. Just keep that core nice and engaged and just that glute doing that work to keep it up. Good, we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Bend that knee in, bring it on top, have a little bit of a stretch. If you need to, you can give it a bit of a massage just to release some of that energy. We're going to stretch that underneath leg now. I'm going to move up a little bit. Stretch the underneath leg. Bring the top leg over the top. If you need to pop a pillow or anything under this knee, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, then that's okay. And we're going to lift up that underneath leg this time. And we're going to pulse this. So the same thing again, you're just using that underneath leg. So we're going to be using that, the inside of the thigh muscles this time to do the work. Good, keep it going. So again, trying to keep everything else nice and still. Still lengthening through that top hip, even though it's a little bit harder when you've got that underneath leg working. Good, and then we're going to hold it nice and still, lengthen, make sure it's nice and straight, that knee's not got any bend in it. And we're going to do some little circles with that heel. So the movement's all still coming from the hip, but it's as though, as we had that pencil on the top of our knee before, this time the pencil's on the bottom of our heel and we're just drawing little tiny 10-pence pieces on the wall away from us. So you're going to have to really lengthen through the back of the leg to reach the wall as well. Good, and then the other way. Should really be starting to feel it at the top of that inside thigh now. Keep it going. 3, 2, 1. Good. Bring that hand down because you're going to need a little bit more support just to bring that other leg on top of the underneath one. Keeping a nice straight line. So it's often a little bit difficult to balance in this position, but keep lengthening that hip away. Have the other arm, this arm, nice and out straight if you have space. And we're going to bring that other hand just in front. So it's like you've got like a poppadom, you don't want to crack it. You're just there for a little bit of support, but you don't want to push down too hard. We're going to lift that top leg off of the bottom leg. Bring the bottom leg up to join it, and then float them both back down. Good. Top leg up, bottom leg to join it, and then both back down. Top leg. Squeeze those inside thighs together, and then lower them both down. Good. Keep that going. Good. So as you're coming up, don't think about bringing the feet together. You're thinking about crushing something between those thighs as they come up to meet in the air. Good. Keep it back. Let's do 3 more of these, keeping nice and long through the body. Good. 1 more. Good. And then bringing both knees in. A little bit of a stretch this side. Make a little ball. And we're going to come up into sitting in the middle. So if you can, sitting on your bottom, crossing your legs. We're going to first of all have the leg you've just been working on top in front. So for me it was my right leg I had working. So I'm just going to pop that in front of my left leg whilst I'm sitting cross-legged. And we're going to take those arms forward just to get a stretch through that glute in the back. So you're going to walk those hands forward along the floor, trying to keep the length in the back. So don't think too much about the nose going down to the floor, thinking about lengthening the top of the head forward to get that stretch in that glute. Good, hold it here, keep on breathing. As you breathe out, normally it's a little bit nice to relax into the stretch. So breathing in, and then as you breathe out, just deepen that stretch a little bit further. Rolling back up through the spine. Taking that front leg, you're just going to cross that foot over the other knee. So sometimes this is a little bit confusing. Just lifting up that front leg, popping that foot over the side of the leg, the other knee, sorry. And we're just going to take a twist away from the leg. Good. So you want to be looking. So for me, my right leg's in front, so I want to be looking over towards the right side. Still sitting nice and tall through the spine. So you're right on top of those sitting bones, and you should be able to feel it down in this glute that we've just been working. Good. Coming back to the front. We're going to lengthen both legs out in front of us. And again, you're just going to walk those hands forward and over. So again, thinking about the length. So not thinking nose to knees, but thinking nice and long and stretching out forward that way. Good. So again, breathing in. And as you breathe out, you can deepen the stretch over those legs. Coming back up. So we're going to go do the other side now. So if you have the right leg in front before, you're now going to have the left leg in front, or vice versa, depending on which way you will lay around. We're going to walk those hands forward again, over towards the floor, nice length through the back just to get into those glutes. Holding it here, keeping the breath going. And rolling back up through the spine. Again, taking that front leg, so the front foot over the other knee, tucking it in there, sitting up nice and straight, and then looking over the same way that the leg is in front. So I've got my left leg in front now, so I'm going to look over towards the left side. Good, sitting up nice and tall through the spine, right on top of those sitting bones. And then coming back towards the front. One last time, taking those legs out in front of you, and then walking those hands down the shins to get a good forward stretch. So again, nice and long through the spine. Don't worry about getting your nose down to your knees, just think about nice and long. You can bend the knees slightly if you need to. And then rolling back up through the spine. So we're going to go on to the other side now, so whichever side you haven't done, so I'm going to go this way. And we're going to do the same again, so getting those glutes working, but on the other side this time. So starting off with the clam, so your knees are going to come together, your feet together, and then nice and in line with the rest of your body. Good. And we're just going to lift up with that glute on this side. So making sure we're lengthening through the top hip. We've got that little bit of a gap in the waist between the floor. Squeezing those feet together can help you activate those glutes a little bit more. Okay, keep it going. So like I was saying about some of the breath, like using your breath in the exercises before, with this one is the same. You can breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, lift that leg up, and as you breathe in again, bring that leg back down. So in and back down. Using the breath can actually help to activate some of your muscles. The reason why we breathe out when we do the movement is because it helps the ribcage draw down, activate the core a little bit more, and have more stability whilst you're doing the exercise. So some of them you actually find easier, I think, if you do with the breath. Okay, let's do 2 more. But obviously if you are using the breath, then it means that you might be doing it, probably will be doing it at different speed to I am, so it's okay, you can do the exercise in your own speed with the breath if you are using that. Good, this next one we're going to bring the leg up, straighten the leg out, bring it in and back down. Good, bring the leg up, taking it out, bringing it in and back down. Making sure that hip's not getting rocked back. Sometimes that makes it a little bit easier for you, but we want to make it as hard as possible, getting those muscles working. Good. Straighten the leg, bring it back, squeeze those feet together, and let that knee come down. Open up the knees, squeezing those feet, straighten the leg, squeezing the feet again, and back down. Let's do 1 more. Coming up, lengthen that leg out, coming in and down. Good, we're going to now, I'm just going to move up a little bit. Straighten that top leg out as well. And we're going to do that side kick. So this is the one where the leg's just coming forward and backwards, a little bit like a walking motion. If you've got space, you can point the toe. Point the toe as it's coming forward and then flex it as it's coming back. Point the toe coming forward, flex it as it's coming back. Keeping that nice long length in both sides of the waist. So you're not letting this underneath waist get longer and this top one get shorter. Everything staying nice and equal on both sides. You want everything to be nice and symmetrical. Making sure you're keeping a nice equal distance between the knee and your other knee. So it's like if your legs were a train track, they're never going to meet together, they're nice and parallel. Good, keep it going. Good, keeping it going if you can. Keeping it, should be starting to hurt in this top hip, but keeping it nice and on top of the other one, nice and stacked together. Good. Now we're going to bring that leg back in line, so in a nice straight line again, and we're going to pulse that top leg. So this is where it really starts to hurt. Everything else is staying nice and still. Just those tiny little pulses on that top leg. Keep it going. Keep the breathing going. So when things like this, you can breathe in for 2 and out for 2. In for 2 and out for 2. Good. Keep it going. Keep that hip stacked on top. We're going to go 3, 2, 1. Bring that hip forward. Nice stretch out. If you need to have a bit of a massage in that top hip, then that's okay. Take a little bit of time to do that. We're going to straighten the underneath leg now, bring the other leg on top, and we're going to lift that underneath leg and start pulsing. So the same little pulses with that underneath leg. Getting those inside thighs working, everything else nice and still. If you can, still keeping that length in that top hip, top waist, even though it is much harder with that underneath leg working. And trying to keep everything else nice and still as that leg keeps pulsing. Good, keep going. Still trying to have that nice long feeling through the back of the neck and the cores engaged. Good. We're going to go 3, 2, 1, but you're going to keep it held. And we're going to go into those little circles, so little 10-piece pieces on the wall underneath your leg. Keep the length through the knee, nice and straight. It's like you're trying to reach the wall underneath you as well. That nice long length, and that's going to help you keep it up that little bit longer as it starts to hurt a little bit more. And the other way. So rotating your leg around the other way. Keep them nice and small 10-piece pieces, don't make them too big. Really tiny. Get that underneath thigh working. 3, 2, 1. Lower that leg down. You're going to pop the other leg back on top of it. This is our last exercise in side lying, you'll be pleased to know. So you're going to lift the top leg up. If you want to, you can pop your hand on the floor. Bring the other leg to join it. And then lower them both back down. So top leg comes up. Bringing the thighs together. And then lowering both down. Top leg, thighs together. And both back down. Good. Keep it going. Nice. Keep it going. Going to do 3 more. So that's 3. This one's number 2. And this one's number 1. Good. Again, bring both those knees in if you need to have a little bit of a stretch. We're going to go on to all fours now. So if you need a pillow under your knees or anything else just to support under there, then feel free to grab one. I'm going to turn back around this way. We're going to come onto our knees, hands just underneath your shoulders. So you've got a nice 90-degree angle at all your joints. So if you have a look from the front, you've got 90 degrees in the wrist, in the armpit, in the hips and in the knees, so we're nice and straight. Spread those hands out along the mat, so you've got a good base of support. And think about, so like how we do at the beginning with our feet, where we're transferring the weight from the balls of our feet back to the heels. Make sure you've got a nice equal spread of the weight through those hands, and that's just going to help with those wrists as well a little bit. And then engage in those cores, so we've got a nice position with the back. We're not sinking too far down or too far up. Nice position there. And we're just going to tuck those toes underneath us at the back, if you can see. And then we're going to breathe in to prepare, and as you breathe out, you're just going to float those knees off of the mat and then back down. So again, in your own time, bring the knees off of the mat and back down. Good, keep it going. Good, so engage that core. As you're coming up, there's no movement in the back. Keep it nice and long along the back of your shoulders as well. So this is our prep for leg pulling pro. So this is one of the ones. We can have a little go at one of the level ones as well. But just keeping that core engaged. Good, let's do 3 more. Nice length through the head. You're not letting that head drop down or come too far up. Last one. Good, now you can either stay doing a few more of these, or you can bring those hands just a palm width forward, keeping that weight still nice and spread through the fingers. And this time we're going to come up and then lengthen out into plank, come back into that leg pulling prone prep, and then lower the knees back down. So you can just stay with lifting the knees off. If you want a little bit of a challenge, bring those knees up, coming out, coming back, and down. Coming up, into plank, back, and down. Good. 2 more of these if you're doing them. The last one. This time after plank, we go up into downward dog. And we get that stretch down through the back of the legs and through the back. So if you were just doing the leg pull, leg pull in prone prep, then you can just join us up here in downward dog. So you're going to lengthen through the back, pushing those tailbones up towards the ceiling is going to get you a good stretch through those legs as well. And we're just going to start pushing through each of the heels. So alternate legs, heels pushing down into the floor. Keep it going. Keep those cores engaged till we've almost finished now. Good. We're going to come back into plank. So everyone back down into plank. Lower those knees to the floor. And we're going to sit back down into child's pose. There's going to be a really nice stretch along those bottoms that we've all been using. Good. We're going to walk those hands over to the right side, just to increase that stretch on the left. You can bring that left hand on top of the right and then pull it forward just a little, just to increase the stretch on the left side. Hold it there. Nice deep breaths. This is getting towards the end of class now, so you can start to relax a little bit. Good. Bringing the hands back to centre, over towards the other side. Bring that right hand over the top of the left, and then just walking it forward a little bit, just to increase the stretch on that side. And coming back to the centre again. Good, we're going to tuck those toes underneath us, rolling back, coming up into that hamstring stretch. letting that head relax. You can hold onto the elbows of the opposite hands if you want to, and have a gentle swing from side to side. And then we're going to roll back up into standing in your own time. So this is the last thing we're going to do. So take your time coming up into that standing position.